Hi, I'm Rebecca from TechCentral inside the Hart Memorial Library of the Osceola Library System, and welcome to Tech Tips from TechCentral.
In our previous video, we discussed the elements of exposure: aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. In this video, we are going to take a deeper look into what is referred to as the exposure triangle. This is basically just how each of the elements of exposure affects the other. So here it is, the exposure triangle, each side being aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. They work together to produce a photo that is properly exposed. If one variable changes, at least one of the others must also change to maintain the correct exposure, the amount of light which reaches your camera sensor. Let's take a look at how each element affects the overall exposure of an image individually. Here is an example of how aperture can change exposure. You can see the smaller the aperture number, also known as f-stop, the larger the aperture itself is, allowing more light in to reach the camera sensor. If you wanted more in focus, but it isn't allowing in enough light, you could decrease your shutter speed to allow your camera sensor more time to collect light. Here is an example of shutter speed. The slower the shutter speed, the longer the camera sensor is exposed to light. The shorter shutter speeds on the bottom right are not letting in enough light, but if you open the aperture and use the smaller f-stop number, you might be able to make up for this. You could also increase your ISO. Finally, here is an example of how ISO actually affects exposure. As you increase the ISO, the sensor becomes more sensitive to light, which allows it to capture more light. Increasing the ISO allows for a faster shutter speed or smaller aperture opening, meaning a higher f-stop number. You can see here that the three elements can combine to find the best neutral exposure. Using the exposure triangle effectively means finding a balance so the photo looks great from the depth of field to the sharpness of the subject.